It is awesome seeing you, Gary. I'm so glad that you are alive and healthy and well. Whoever's watching this is Gary. He is a tremendous, tremendous business person, born and raised in LA, back to China. Gary, why don't you tell your life story? Tell us how you got to where you are.
Okay, well, first off, thanks so much for having me on, CJ. I'm a big follower of all the stuff that you're doing on YouTube. I think you're a valuable wealth of knowledge, especially for Amazon sellers, dealing with suspension. So I think this is a great way for us to connect and put our minds together to help out a lot of the sellers watching today. I'm not going to give you my whole life story. I don't want to put everyone to sleep, but the 80-20 of it is basically, I like to say that I was made in the USA and I was exported to China. I went to school at USC. My family is originally from mainland China. I'm second generation Chinese American. And then in 2008, I picked up and moved out to Shanghai because the financial crisis was hitting the States. At the same time, China was booming. They had the Olympics. So I really wanted to kind of make a career for myself in China. So I stumbled upon a small consulting firm that was helping foreign clients source from China. So I became the point guy with sourcing. I was visiting Chinese factories. I was managing multi-million-dollar sourcing campaigns. So I really learned the good, the bad, and the ugly sides of this whole China sourcing. Later on, I worked there for several years. I kind of hit a glass ceiling. I got married. I thought to myself, what's next, right? So I decided to start selling on Amazon because I was in a unique position. I knew the US market, and at the same time, I was on the ground in China. So I started selling on Amazon, had some success there. And then I also created a website to teach others how to source from China. So I called it 80-20 sourcing because, out of all the suppliers out there, probably 80% are not the right fit for you. So I help people find the 20% to save time and money, basically.
You said that you saw the good, the bad, and the ugly, okay? What is the ugliest or the most shocking thing that you saw when you left beautiful Los Angeles and you left your Dodgers behind and then you go to China? What's the worst thing that you saw, like the craziest thing that you saw in terms of manufacturing?
In terms of manufacturing, okay. Probably when I was helping one of my clients that was sourcing these car parts. They're like rubber and metal, like in between two parts to prevent the oil from leaking. We did like a whole road show from the north to the south of China. I took him to probably a dozen factories. So we saw very high tech, very clean factories, like automation, to kind of like a backyard home operation. And then like the factory warehouse, it was literally like almost in smoke. I mean, just like the smell of the rubber. And I felt really bad for the workers on the floor because they're working in this environment. They didn't have any like PPE or any protection at all. They were just, they had like the window open. And so like that, stuff like that, there's other things, but I just felt sorry for the workers. I mean, just in terms of that was probably one of the ugliest things that I saw.
All right. You also mentioned you got married, you have a son. Kid is absolutely a beautiful boy. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's fantastic. And then you said you started with the 80-20 sourcing, which you're still doing. And then you also then pivoted into the 7-Figure Summit, the 7-Figure Seller Summit, which we're going to talk about a bit. And I'm not shy. I do business with people that I like and trust and believe in. And when we needed to source office chairs, we needed 60 new chairs. My first email was to Gary because I know that if I go through Gary, I'm going to get what I want, quickly and easily. So I want to thank you, man. The chairs are coming through absolutely perfectly. All right, so let's start with 80-20, okay? What does 80-20 do and how does it work?
So 80-20 sourcing is a website where I teach people, when I train people how to source their product. So I've worked with many Amazon sellers, e-commerce sellers, a lot of the small business, entrepreneurs out there, how to navigate through the complexities. I expose some of the scams out there. I share some of the best practices, how you can do it yourself. I mean, in my past career, I would do it for them. I would handle the clients, myself. But nowadays, I'm focusing more on teaching people how to do it themselves. So it's kind of like that philosophy where, if you feed a man a fish, you only feed him one meal. But if you teach a man a fish, he can feed himself for a lifetime. So that's kind of the philosophy behind 80-20 sourcing.
I think that's great. We do a lot of the same stuff around here where we just give information, do it yourself. This is how you can handle it. And there's a book like Jab, 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 Right Hook. And it talks about this theory of giving away the content. And then the clients that want you and the clients that you want will come back. And it's also a huge way of paying it forward, where you teach somebody something and then you learn from them, and you really grow on each other, which then brings us to the 7-Figure Seller Summit, where you had 27 different thought leaders, teaching different aspects of online commerce.
Yeah, definitely. So after I did 80/20 sourcing, I noticed that, sourcing is just like one of the pieces of the puzzle, of your business, right? So obviously you have your product selection, your manufacturing, your shipping, your launching, your IP, your brand registry, your trademark, with CJ and your firm. I know that, you guys are experts when it comes to that. So I thought to myself, I started selling on Amazon around 2016. Okay. So I got some skin in the game. I know what everyone else is going through because I'm doing it myself. So, I would go to a lot of these in-person events and conferences, and that's how we met. I think it was in Hong Kong at the Global Sources Summit a few years ago. So I met, a lot of very smart but very experienced people and funny guys like you, CJ, as well. So I would go to these events to level up, and it was working pretty well for a couple years. But then my wife got pregnant with Harrison. So I couldn't just hop on the next plane and, jet out, as easily as before, right? So I thought, why not invite these experts and these 7-figure sellers to me, to teach me and to teach everyone else online, right? So that's kind of the genesis behind the 7-Figure Seller Summit. So we had our first summit in 2018, and we had over 20 speakers, and then we had several thousand people that watched online. And this year recently, we launched our second 7-Figure Seller Summit. And CJ, you were one of the awesome guests as well. And so today I thought it would be cool because a lot of people, a lot of these e-commerce entrepreneurs, they're kind of stuck at home in lockdown, and it's not that easy to meet other sellers, to learn and to level up. So I thought that this could be a perfect opportunity to share some of the takeaways that I got personally. I interviewed over 20 7-figure sellers and experts, to share the top 10 takeaways that I got from it. And if, the people are interested in seeing the full sessions, we're happy to offer a limited time free pass for people that can check out the session.
Let me steer the conversation someplace. So what I really liked about the 7-Figure Seller Summit was how it was organized, because there's so much to do, and there, as an Amazon seller, as an entrepreneur, that you really kind of get yourself organized. And I love that. And I got the days in front of me. The entrepreneurial mindset and selling on Amazon mindset is absolutely vital. And I love there was a whole day just spent on the mindset of being an entrepreneur, and also kind of rolling with the punches that Amazon throws at you. Because while it's a great, huge opportunity, Amazon certainly challenges sellers with all sorts of curveballs. Then there was scaling, the marketing and branding day, profitability. And I really want to focus a bit, we'll do it towards the end, on the exits and selling your business, because, most entrepreneurs don't realize that a huge portion of their overall profit comes at the very end of the day when they sell, because we're constantly churning money back into the business. Also, I don't know how you're going to pick the top 10 out of 27 speakers. So definitely take me off the list. So you got the top 10 from 26 speakers. And let's run through just some of the speakers that Amazon sellers can check out. And if you just give me a little bit of each one. So Greg Mercer.
Well, he's the founder of Jungle Scout, one of the top Amazon product research tools. He was a very inspirational speaker. When he first started, he was working a full-time job. He just hustled, man. After his job, after he had dinner with his wife, he would just bring his laptop to Starbucks and work until midnight, just hustling the whole Amazon. That's how he got started. And I can talk, for probably an hour about that session, but I got to save time for everyone else. But
all right. Also, I want everyone to know that Gary is not just helping sellers through his own enterprises that he's created, but he's also been invited by other sourcing courses to come help them, Like Gary is a coach for the India sourcing trip, a woman named Megla, who created this 4,000 member group on sourcing products from another country, India, where you get tremendous woodwork, metal products, and handicrafts. But the second speaker you had is Chris DAVEY, another remarkable guy. I think he's from the UK and he now lives in, I think, Shenzhen, China, who's absolutely remarkable. He talks to you about just taking your business to the next level. And he's such a personable guy that he shares information on such an incredible level.
No
All right,
worries.
so then you have Tim Jordan, okay? Tim Jordan is like the Alabama genius, okay? He was a fireman or an EMT who started dabbling in Amazon and it was just incredible. So what did Tim come and teach your people about?
Yeah, I mean, this is really good. I really like how you brought this up. And this leads us to probably my number one takeaway, if you want me to get into that, because it involves Chris DAVEY and Tim Jordan in terms of their master
The number one takeaway, but anyone watching this, you better stay till the end because there's a lot of great information. So what was the number one takeaway from Tim Jordan, Hickory Flats, and Chris DAVEY?
Yeah. So in terms of the mindset of an entrepreneur, because I find a lot of times it's not necessarily the lack of intelligence or even, work ethic. Sometimes it's just a mindset. Okay. So probably for me, the number one takeaway is that successful entrepreneurs get around excuses. Okay. So they get around these challenges because one of the sure things of running a business, I'm sure CJ, you would agree with this, is that you will face problems. You will face challenges. You will face setbacks, whether it's Corona, whether it's a recession, whether your product going out of stock, hijackers, 100%, no doubt about it. Okay, so I found what really sets these seven-figure sellers apart is that when they're faced with these trials and tribulations, they found ways to get around these problems, ways to get around these excuses. They didn't throw in the towel, when hit with these problems that will cause some people to fail and give up. So let's talk about Chris DAVEY, seven-figure seller. He shared that it was a pain in the butt to deal with European VAT or VAT and the whole bureaucracy and the administration, all that work it entails. Like he tore his hair out. He spent dozens of hours, if not more, fulfilling all of these, requirements, this, that, the other thing, so that he can legally sell in Amazon EU, the marketplace. Okay. Some people, on the other hand, might have given up if they face these challenges, made the excuse like, oh, it's not worth it. I don't know how to do that. But Chris was very determined to get around these excuses and find a way to get it done. Okay. So the main takeaway.
Hold on. Let me stop you for a second. Okay. So for sellers, you want to sell in the EU. Okay. Any place in Europe, you got to deal with VAT. And I got to recommend, her name is Alex Wyatt, and the company is Simply VAT. Okay. And she makes it easy and simple. And Alex over there is remarkable. Okay. She can help you do this. All right. Sorry to interrupt you, but I had to plug Alex because she's incredible.
Awesome. No, this is great. Okay. So the main takeaway here is that Chris sees these challenges as barriers that keep out his competitors. Okay. And especially competitors from countries like China, where he feels that probably they're not willing to go through this process. Okay. So in other words, this means more business for him because he found a way around this problem and around this excuse. Okay. So this is one of the top takeaways that I found. Okay. And then moving on to takeaway number 2, which involves Tim Jordan. Okay. Get off of Amazon to find profitable products. Okay. So probably one of the number one challenges sellers face is finding a profitable product, right? So, what may have worked back in 2016 to rank and sell on Amazon doesn't work as well today. So the old way of just going on Amazon, relying on research tools to come up with your product ideas doesn't work the same way where there's like a million other sellers using the same tools and the same methodology. So it's kind of like that saying, right? If you start out from the same place as everyone else, you end up at the same place as everyone else, right? So what may look like a profitable product opportunity today, if you're using the same tools as everyone else, 3-4 months down the line, there's gonna be 100 people selling the same exact thing as you. Okay, so what do you do? So Tim Jordan, in his masterclass, he shared that looking on Amazon alone can lead to very saturated niches, and you don't want to get into that. That's like a red ocean. Okay, so now Tim uses external sites off of Amazon, such as Pinterest, such as Cratejoy, to find profitable product ideas and keywords. Okay, so once he finds these keywords and ideas off of Amazon, then he uses these research tools to validate them.
I also find in common with both of these guys and many entrepreneurs that not only do they face the obstacles and figure out ways around it, they really do it with a sense of humor and not let things get them down. I mean, both of them.
Yeah.
And I see that a lot with entrepreneurs because, you know, the saying is like, it's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how you get up again. And like Tim Jordan, get his teeth kicked in, gets right back up with a sense of humor and a smile and get right back in the game. And I got to tell you right now, I am looking out at my brand new, beautifully custom built out 4,000 square foot office space that I built out for collaborative work environments about 3 hours before the coronavirus hit, right?
Wow.
So now my whole team is working from home. And I'm working with glass companies because collaborative work environments are really not so good when you can die of coronavirus.
Right.
So
right.
It's like, my custom made desks that I had built in are fantastic, but not anymore. They were great 4 months ago.
Maybe you can get some plexiglass or like those shields to kind of
that's exactly what we're doing. I had the glass guys come in literally today. I'm like, what can I do? And they're like, you buy 4 by 8 foot sheets of plexiglass, you frame it out, and you divide the space up and more air vents. But listen, entrepreneurs, here's the point. Tim Jordan, Chris Davies, Gary, okay? When you face an obstacle, you got to think about it, surpass it, get back up, and, you know, hopefully also with a smile and with energy to find another way of skinning the cat and being successful.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
What about scale? Have the mindset, you get in, you've got the survivor instinct and you're going to battle your way and happily face challenges, right? What about scale?
Yeah, definitely. So this leads us to the next 2 takeaways, okay, about scaling. So the next one is to apply the 80-20 rule to save time and to increase profits, because one of the biggest pains that entrepreneurs face is the lack of time. So, you know, many of you guys watching out there, you're probably like a one-man or one-woman show or a solopreneur. And, you know, like, you have a family as well, CJ. I know you have, wife and kids, you have your team, and you have a beautiful family.
Way too many. Okay. Way too many. My wife is incredible. I hit the wife lotto second time around. First time, not so much. I hope you're not watching this, Vanessa. Okay. Not so much first time around.
Yeah.
Wife, ex-wife, children, stepchildren. That's why I like to travel.
Yeah. Excellent.
Also, I love that you brought up time. Most people don't really, they think money is like the most important resource. The most valuable thing that any of us have is our time. You can't make more of it, and you got to guard it like a hawk.
Oh yeah. And then, I appreciate your time, CJ, and everyone else's time, watching this. So I want to make sure you get a high ROI on this, because you can't get this time back. So going back to the 80-20 rule to save time and increase profits, the biggest pain point is probably lack of time. So that's why when I was interviewing Jason Vandergrint, he runs a $1 million one-person business in Toronto. I asked him, Jason, thanks for your time. I know you're probably super busy. He's like, no, Gary, actually, I'm not. I was shocked. I mean, who says that, right? I mean, who's not busy? So, diving deeper into his training, he shared that he applies the 80-20 rule to decide on what work tasks to spend his time on. So more specifically, I learned he follows Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Successful People. And then he really cranks out on that one quadrant. It's like a time management matrix, divided up between, urgent and non-urgent tasks and important and non-important tasks. So he really cranks out on the non-urgent, important tasks. So this way, he doesn't give them a chance to get bigger later. And then this saves him time later. Okay, so that's one thing, focusing on the non-urgent but important tasks. Okay.
Yeah, I got to tell you something, because
Yeah.
that book is old school. That book came out in like the 80s, I think, if not
Yeah.
earlier than that. And
Yeah. I mean, like those principles, they're timeless, you know.
no, I have it. I know I read it years ago. I'm going to reread it. That's a huge tip, not to let things get to the point, where they're really exploding and just taking away your time. That's a great tip.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And then I also found out these seven-figure sellers, they apply the 80-20 rule to work smart to get more profits, not just work hard, they work smart. So talking to Brandon Dubsky, who built a $1 million one-person business selling one product and only working 1 hour per day, like he shared his big profits formula. So he says that big profits equals small work times big smarts. Okay, small work times big smarts to get big profits. Okay, so Brandon really focuses on the smarts and tasks that make money and outsources the tasks that are moving money. Okay, so for example, he focuses on tasks such as creating videos of himself and his children showing customers how to use their products. And then this really helps to boost his sales and his brands. And then he shared, on the other hand, a lot of his competitors, especially Chinese competitors, they're not willing or they're not able to do stuff like this. So he really focuses on the smart work, okay, not just moving money around. So and then similarly, I spoke with seven-figure sellers Alex and Jerry Mills. They're a husband and wife team based out of California. And then they also have a toddler as well. So they focus on the smart work, launching new products and optimizing their PPC campaigns. And then they outsource the rest of their work to free up their time. And then I also asked, how do you, manage to take care of your kid and run your business at the same time? I'm in the same boat. And then Alex shared one of her biggest wins was finding quality daycare, for her kid, right? So she wouldn't have to, worry. Yeah.
Even that, like finding the daycare is the smart work, because then it freed up her time to focus on other things. I made a huge note. Sellers, you have entrepreneurs, you have certain skills that you can't hire, right?
Yeah.
And some things that you can farm out and outsource or hire people to do. And by focusing on what your special sauce is, your smart work, I think that's a huge takeaway. I love that.
100%.
That's right. I think I can probably use that in my own practice, really focusing on what requires me,
Yeah.
and my skill set, and giving away some of the other things to the team.
Yeah, 100%. And then actually that leads us to the next point when you brought up team, because I noticed that this building out a team, you really want to build a superstar team. Okay, so a few months ago when I was traveling in Thailand with my family in Shanghai, it wasn't a total vacation. I mean, don't get me wrong. I was still, interviewing people, for the summit at the same time. And I met up with one of these seven-figure sellers, Nate Ginsburg. Okay, so he's American, but he's been a digital nomad for several years, traveling all over Southeast Asia. And recently he sold his Amazon business for almost $1 million. So when I met up with him, we sat down in a cafe. And then I asked him, how did you build your business and how did you sell it for 7 figures? And he said it was because of his superstar team, because he couldn't have done it all himself. So, diving deeper, Nate shared that he hired for his weaknesses. Okay. So, I mean, there's no Superman or Superwoman that does everything. So Nate said that he's an ideas person, but he's not so detail oriented. Okay. So he hired people to build a team that was detail oriented to fill in those gaps to make his business stronger. Okay.
This is also great. I'm not sure. I read a lot of business books when I used to fly a lot pre-corona, and I'm not sure if Good to Great or in a book called Iconic, where they talked about the value of hiring really good people. Like the growth of your business is based upon your hiring. And I remember reading this, and I
Yeah.
was like, that's really accurate, because I tended to hire people who were either similar to me or I knew on a personal level, even though they might not be the right people, to put on your bus, right?
Right.
And once you
Right.
get the right people, kind of finding the right seats on the bus for them. And it's really hard. Like, you really need to be patient and interview extensively, and let potential candidates like do a lot of talking so you can get a good feel for what their skills are. Because hiring the right people, like once you're past 1, 2, 3 people on the bus, you need good people who can really take the ball and just run with it, that you can trust.
For sure. No, I agree 100%. And then diving deeper into, learning the benefits of working with the superstar team, I also learned something that actually from you, CJ, because I learned that your team not only supports you, but you can also learn valuable information from them. So I remembered, in your masterclass, CJ, obviously you run a successful law firm, with all the stuff you're doing to help Amazon sellers, protect their brands and get their accounts back from suspensions. I learned that, CJ, at least pre-corona, you would meet with your team every day to learn what's working and what's not working, because they're the ones that are interfacing with your clients, right? So I learned that your team is on the front line with your customers, your clients every day, so they know their key pain points. They know, the customer's goal, and this is super valuable information for you, because you can tailor your services to meet their demands and grow your business, right? I mean, this is one of the key takeaways, that I got, from your session.
One of the things that I found also, I've never, ever pretended to know everything. Mark Twain said, you just need to know your little portion of the river, right? So if you know your portion and you admit what you don't, one, you build up your own credibility. When you tell someone, I just don't know the answer, but let me check with my team, they appreciate that, and they'll trust you more. And it definitely builds not just credibility, it's not just honest, it also builds up that everlasting relationship, that rapport of trust that really is extremely valuable, that networking of people that you can rely upon, and that they know they can rely upon you, because you'll give them a straight story, even if it's bad news or it's like, hey man, I don't know what's going to happen.
Right. Yeah. That trust, it's so important. And then, along those lines of trust is also, like one of the struggles of running with a team, especially a remote team, is that trust, and also how to motivate them to perform better. So I have a remote team of virtual assistants. I have, web virtual assistant in the Philippines, web developer in Eastern Europe, some graphic guy in India, right? So how do you, one of my struggles is how do you motivate them to perform better? Sometimes, they may not be responsive. So I learned that, when I was interviewing Mike Jackness, from Ecom Crew, I learned how does he build a strong relationship with his remote team in the Philippines. So Mike shared that he would physically visit his team of VAs in the Philippines every year, and that he spends time with them in person. So he literally works, out of the same office for about a week with them. He spends time also out of the office, socializing with them over dinner, lunch, team building activities. And he's even known to go to karaoke with them, so like all this kind of stuff, it really helps build that trust, that relationship, to motivate your team to perform better. And I find that this is a universal truth, whether you're, in the US, you're in the Philippines, you're in China, in China, there's this concept called guanxi, the concept of relationships, spending face time. So I'm sure you've noticed this, when you visit your team in China, I mean, I think that really helps cement the relationship and, like take that up to the next level. If you guys, have lunch, or after hours, if you go to, have some drinks, with the baijiu and that good stuff, that really, brings the relationship up to a whole another level. So when something happens, they remember that, right? You're not just like some guy that sends them an email every other day. They remember CJ. So I find that this is one of the best practices to motivate your team.
I think it's absolutely vital. Like when I go to China, we have teams in Yiwu and teams in Shenzhen. And when I go there, I always have a list of what I want to get done. Usually it's creating content and updating on what's going on here. But I always devote at least half the time to just sort of hanging out. And I also think one of the things you need to show your team is your own vulnerabilities. Okay? Absolutely. You have to show who you are, that you're a person just like they are, and be there for them. And they will absolutely be there for you. And our office in Shenzhen is in the Ping An building, which is this tremendous tower. But underneath it is a train station that has one of those basketball machines. And every single visit, right, we're there. And one of these days, I'm going to kick Bruce's behind. But so far, he wins every time. But it really is great. You have to show your personality. You have to be true and credible and vulnerable. That builds loyalty. It drives people as a team. And you have to really be inclusive and listen to what their needs are also. So, and Jackness is an incredible business person. I follow him also. Just great stuff to learn from him.
He is awesome. He's awesome.
All right. Now, what about marketing and branding?
Definitely. So that leads us to the next takeaway. Building a brand right now. It's even more critical than ever to rank your products, to get reviews, and to also sell your business for a higher multiple. Okay, so as of today, building a brand is so critical because there's so much more competition. And also I learned the fact is that Amazon actually will give more weight to external traffic that drives sales. And this is especially related to building your brand. So I spoke with Dave Huss, and then he spent over $400,000 on Facebook ads for his own e-commerce business. And then he helps a number of 7 and 8 figure e-commerce sellers rank their products on page 1 of Amazon. So in Dave's experience, he shared that building an audience or a list on Facebook, it's like bringing a gun to a knife fight. Why? Because you can launch to that list. You can rank new products on page 1 of Amazon. You can use your list to get reviews in a white hat way that's compliant with TOS. So it's like an unfair advantage. So, it's kind of like those old Indiana Jones movies. I'm dating myself. I'm probably dating you, CJ, but you probably remember that scene with, the bad guy, in that bazaar in the Middle East with the swords. You remember that scene?
Yeah. And then tricks, and also you bang, he shoots him.
Yeah, and then Indiana Jones takes out his gun and he just shoots him dead, right? So having, building a brand, having an audience in a list, it's kind of like an unfair advantage. It's like bringing a gun to a knife fight. And then also another key thing about a brand is that Chris Davey shared this actually. He shared that his brand is a roadmap that helps him decide on what products to launch to market. So he can literally map out his product portfolio based on what products would complement his brand and also what products to avoid, okay? And then also having a tight brand of products, this can help you get a higher multiple if you decide to sell your business. So Corin Woodmass, the FBA broker, in his training session, he helps Amazon sellers for exit for 7 to 8 figures. And he says that having a tight brand of products is very important. And then this is in contrast to having just like a hero product that generates the lion's share of sales and other like minor like minions that trickle in alongside. Okay, so the takeaway here, as of today, building a brand to beat your competitors and selling for a higher multiple, it's like bringing a gun to a knife fight.
I love that. Bringing a gun to a knife fight is better than bringing a knife to a gunfight. Also, building the value of your business and to building the value of your brand is a whole course by itself. We have some videos on it. You got to diversify your products, have them all meshed together, IP protection. We always recommend now a holding company that all your IP rights should be held in one company that license it to your other company that's running your online business, especially Amazon, so that the IP holding company can enforce your rights against Amazon without Amazon sticking it to your Amazon account. And there's all these different corporate things you need to do to build the value. Like, don't treat your business like your personal bank account. Have contracts in place, insurance policies, leases, your phone. Like, do this all through the business so that when you do go to sell and a lawyer is looking at the business, it looks like a solid corporate business for the exit strategy. And when it comes to buying or selling a business, I can't endorse. There's a company called Empire Flippers. Justin is one of the guys, and Joe Magnotti is the other partner. One guy's from San Diego. Joe, I think, is from Staten Island, New York. And they built this incredible process where buyers and sellers get vetted. So there's very little time lost with tire kickers on either side. So Empire Flippers is another huge resource for people looking to buy or to sell. Hey, also, I saw you had Rahul Chawla from Kima, okay? And
Yes.
one, I'm
Yes.
personally friends with him. I'm a big fan of his, and his company helps prevent some of the nightmares at the factories.
Yeah. Rahul is, his company, Kima, they're probably one of my top recommended third-party inspection agencies. So what they do is quality control. So, they can be on the ground, they're your eyes and ears in the factory. So before you let your shipment go out, before you pay for it, definitely send somebody in. And, I can't stress this enough. And then in Rahul's training, like he literally went through all, different scenarios, things that can go wrong with your shipment. And, I think even experienced sellers should, at least spend a little time, checking out his training session, because he's literally seen like hundreds and hundreds of, cases of stuff that goes wrong. So if you just, save one mistake, it could cost you like tens of thousands of dollars. So it can save you a ton of money.
And
I
Rahul,
can't highly recommend that.
Rahul has the personality. I mean, he's a great guy. He's brilliant, but he's also like, he knows he's got his checklist, and everything is always perfect, always organized. For quality control, this is exactly the guy that you want, because he will make
100%.
sure that your products are made the way they're supposed to be. Also in the environment that you want your products made. You don't want people breathing in toxic fumes and that kind of stuff. So I saw Rahul, and he's just a tremendous business person.
Yeah.
All right, moving along. Profitability. I love there was a whole day spent on profitability, or a whole section on profitability, because there's a saying, no one ever went out of business making a profit.
That's right. I mean, it's, profits and, especially cash flow, that's like the lifeblood of your business. If that ever goes away, your business is gone. But profitability, it's so important. One of probably the number one quote that, talking to these 7-figure sellers, that they mentioned is Peter Drucker's quote. Okay, whatever gets measured gets managed, right? Whatever gets measured gets managed. So for example, when it comes to profitability, Chris Davies products, he shared, have a 30% margin. Okay, so with the 30% margin, I mean, more importantly, he knows his margin. A lot of sellers do not. That's one of the top mistakes. So Chris says that, if you have a 30% margin, then you should ask yourself if, is this enough for PPC? So if so, then you can afford to outspend your competition to buy your way to the top. Okay, but the key is, he knows his numbers. Whatever gets measured gets managed. And then talking to 7-figure seller Chris Rawlings, he shared that right now he gets very granular when launching a new product. Every day, he and his team, they're tracking all the metrics in a 35-day honeymoon period, how many rebates are given out, how many reviews are given out, sales numbers, etc. Whatever gets measured gets managed. And then I also spoke with Robin Johnson, a 7-figure seller, and she tightly tracks her Amazon conversion rates. So every week she pulls her Amazon session reports and studies them to learn what's working well and what's not, so that she can optimize her business. And I know this sounds like a lot of work, and the beauty of living in today is that there's a lot of tools out there that can automate this process. So, besides hiring your team, you can also use automation. So there's software such as Sellerboard to track sales. There's tools like SentryKit to track your keyword ranking every day, to monitor your listing every hour. If a competitor swaps your listing out, or if your listing gets taken down by Amazon, it will email you immediately. So this can save you a ton of time and a lot of money from your listings, being messed up. And also when expanding internationally in terms of profitability. John Cavendish, a seven-figure seller that focuses on Amazon EU, he says to keep your eye on the Amazon fees to bring your international sales revenue back to your home country and home currency. And then, in fact, I made this mistake the first year that I was selling on Amazon internationally because I just use Amazon's default currency exchange and transfer service. And then I mistakenly thought that, they would be a good option because they were the easiest option, right? I mean, famous last words. So later on at the end of the year, when I was reviewing the numbers with my bookkeeper, I learned the hard way that I wasted thousands of dollars in exchange rate and money transfer fees paid to Amazon. Amazon was charging 3.9% in fees. Okay. So if I were to give myself some advice, when I started selling internationally, I would tell myself to use a payment transfer service like pingpong, like these transfer services to lower these fees from 3.9% to less than 1%. So that could save you tens of thousands of dollars or even more, because a lot of sellers, they're not managing this, right? Whatever gets measured gets managed. They're not measuring this. Okay. So, I mean, this is such a critical takeaway that a lot of sellers, they're not focusing on.
I love that you mentioned that, and I'm writing down ping pong. There's 2 points I want to make out there, okay? One, this is great information for advanced sellers, people who are already in the game, sourcing products, selling their own private label. This is great tips on how you could be even more efficient and better by lowering certain costs. If you save 2 points on your money, right, that adds up very, very quickly, and that's huge. The second point is that if you are a newer seller, I don't want anybody to not jump in the game because things aren't perfect. Like the way Gary did it by starting with Amazon because it was easy, I don't think that was a mistake because you got involved, you got the ball rolling, and then you fine tune later. I'm a big guy about sayings. It's from my prior life as a trial lawyer, car accidents, medical malpractice, employment cases, and here it goes. It's like, here's the saying, perfect is the enemy of the done, which means if you wait to get everything absolutely perfect, you're never going to get anything done, right? So Gary started, and you were paying an outrageously high rate and losing a lot of money, but it got you in the game and got the business going. And then you find these ways to fine tune later to get better. So for advanced sellers, I'm using a company. I'm not going to bash them during our show here, but first thing tomorrow, I made a note, look up ping pong, see if I can lower my transfer rates, because I transfer over a boatload of money to pay our staff in China. And we also transfer money over from our Chinese clients into USD. We try not to transfer as much. We try and use the RMB to pay our staff. But if the numbers aren't equal, it gets transferred. And I got to check out ping pong, because if it's down below 1%, I'm getting hosed. Okay.
Definitely. And ping pong does a lot of business with China. I know that for a fact as well.
So this is another thing. Amazon sellers out there, new, experienced, big giant whales of Amazon. So you could always learn something every day from every person you interact. And that's why the 7-Figure Seller Summit is absolutely remarkable. Same thing with like Global Sources and the India sourcing trip and some of the other events around the world, a Seller Con coming up in Austin, Texas this summer. I can't recommend Gary highly enough. In fact, I am hoping that I can get Gary on board to help us grow our brand protection business in China for brands like Anchor and other huge sellers who are having issues, and we want to do it the right way. 7-Figure Seller Summit. Gary, give the people watching this a way that they can get that free pass and take a look. And logistically, how do they start watching the 7-Figure Seller Summit?
Definitely. I mean, we talked about a lot today, but this is just the tip of the iceberg. And this is just, my top takeaways. I mean, everyone's in a different stage of their business, and I think that everyone will get something different out of it. So check out 7FigureSellerSummit.com. You can see the banner behind me.
I see you're on your way. I see you're on your way.
Yeah.
You got to embrace it eventually. Just take out the big razor eventually. Not yet. Another couple of years.
Well, I'm in lockdown, so I haven't been able to get my hair cut, but I'm working on my, cutting my own hair. But that's another story for another time. 7FigureSellerSummit.com to check out over 20 sessions so that you can surround yourself with e-commerce sellers so you can level up. So I think it's a great way right now, since we are in lockdown. You can stop binging on Netflix and Tiger King, and you can start leveling up your e-commerce business. Okay. So yeah, I highly recommend you guys check it out, and you can get a free pass, a 24-hour free pass. So if you're having a hard time to make ends meet, I totally understand. Okay, so you can watch for free. But we also have an upgrade all access pass where you get lifetime access, you get additional bonus live trainings. We have a private mastermind group. You can also download the audio. So if you're commuting, or if you're just working around the house, you can put on your headphones and you can learn at the same time. So 7FigureSellerSummit.com.
All right. Awesome, Gary. Thank you very much for coming on and explaining the top tips from your takeaway, that everyone might have their own takeaways. Tremendous resource. And everyone, absolutely check out 7-Figure Seller Summit. Probably from what I've seen over the last, 4 or 5 years, the #1 resource for information from the largest group of top thought leaders anywhere on the planet. So Gary, thank you very, very much. I love our conversations, and I hope to see you again soon once this whole virus pandemic is over.
Thank you so much, CJ. You're very welcome. This has been awesome. And then I hope this was helpful to you guys, and everyone stay safe. And CJ, I hope to see you soon as well. And please send my best to you and your beautiful family as well.